Sharon, you're here, and I appreciate you being here. So what's going on? What's going on with the big shopping day?
I'll tell you quickly. Listen, and I don't believe in Amazon. I am actually betraying myself. All the boxes, the paper boxes with only one item showing up, I don't believe in it. But can I tell you, I got indoctrinated just for a few hours. I then put in this other app, this coupon. I am getting, these are incredible discounts that I don't even know if I should be allowed to get this. Some stuff is free, but you got to do the Prime discount plus, like, go to this other app, put in this little code.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal.
And they steal your identity.
Probably.
This sounds like a sponsored segment. I want to be clear, it's not.
Fans.
And also, screw Bezos and his spaceships.
Yeah, I don't like
but
that
anyway,
part.
yeah. But I guess people do need deals considering the rise in price of everything. But anyway, yeah. I've noticed it's a very good business model they have. Amazon, not only, like forcing everyone to be on your thing and then you can control the price and everything, but just the idea of, like, you mentioned the one box for one thing, like effectively creating presents for adults. It's a good business model psychologically. I think they're on to something, and I'm not sure it's healthy for us.
It's not. And they've also destroyed what's left of the US Postal Service. So I'm going to,
also
this is just 24 hours I'm on this, then I'm done. Okay.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I might return the stuff, but it's like I'm addicted. It's like a high.
I just want to open the box and then return the stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, well, thank you everyone for accepting the box of this episode of the Damage Report, because you're going to open it up and you know what you're going to find inside? Fascism, probably. We are broadcasting from America, but we're gonna do it anyway. We've got a lot of interesting news to get into. We're gonna be talking quite a bit about ICE. And although I think most experts thought that a massive infusion of money into a government bureaucracy with almost no training, no oversight, and you don't even get to see your faces was going to be great, it's starting to look like maybe that wasn't the case. It looks like they're abusing their power and taxpayer funds. So we're gonna be jumping into that. Noem is gonna look like a dink, which is gonna be a lot of fun. Pete Hegseth, it turns out, not too long ago, was super woke. Apparently a big fan of DEI and wokeness, and so we'll get into that. He's now having to backpedal from his previously woke positions, and we just got tons of other stuff to get into too. Pam Bondi desperately trying to not reveal what Donald Trump has done in the Epstein files. There's a lot of fun stuff. So hit the like button, share the stream, send us your comments, your tweets, your super chats. We might give away a Blue Apron gift card, although I'm realizing now I haven't done that in a little bit. I should probably remember to do that. And with all that said, Sharon, are you ready to do this thing?
I am. Let's do this. Sounds juicy episode.
It is. Let's jump right into it.
Listen, this mayor is going to wait until somebody gets violently hurt or killed. He's going to have blood on his hands because he sat around and thought too long, because he's too scared of the political ramifications of making a big decision to keep his city safe. That's my concern, is that you've got so many people here in Portland playing politics. They don't realize they're up against professional terrorists, Antifa affiliated individuals.
Yeah, so that obviously is a whole bunch of nonsense. It's propaganda. There's no professional terrorists. There's no whatever. It's a couple of protesters. And as has often been the case in the past few months, the protests only really start once the media invades the city. Have you noticed that? They say they send the military there because of the protests, but there aren't protests until the military is there. And then there's a protest, kind of understandably, because the military is attacking American cities. So there's a lot of lying there. But she points out that people are going to die because the mayor is spending too much time thinking about politics. And I watched that video, and maybe you had the same thought as me. I wonder how long she thought about, which side should I put the ponytail on? Like, I got the cool hat. I'm gonna do the cool hat. It makes it look like I'm a soldier too. And then I'm gonna put the ponytail, and it's gonna be fun. I get to do another photo shoot while I do my fascism. And that is unfortunately what Noem is. All of this is politics, by the way. None of these deployments are necessary. They send in the military so that people in other parts of the country will think, oh, I guess it must be bad there. They're sending in the military, but they're not. And this is just core, this is core foundations of fascism. The idea that you're gonna constantly turn us against each other, make us all terrified, make us all think that there is an enemy from within, some sort of rot that you need to willingly surrender your rights, your freedoms, your civil liberties so that we can go after that. And none of it's real, which is why we sort of without any real incentive point out the lies that undergird all of this. But it's a lot of nonsense. There's a lot of nonsense, specifically in Portland as well. Don't believe Kristi Noem's lies. And that's not to say that there isn't violence. There is violence. But unfortunately, a lot of times it's ICE that's actually doing it. And we have some really troubling examples of that to talk about on today's episode of the Damage Report. First of all, we find out yet again that ICE's account of an act of violence turns out, once you dig into it, to not be what they seem to indicate it was. And this involves Marimar Martinez, a 30-year-old who was shot 5 times by a Border Patrol agent in Chicago. And just the fact that Border Patrol is operating inside of Chicago feels like an indictment of this entire thing. Anyway, after she and several other drivers trailed officers' cars through Chicago streets. In a press release, DHS claimed that when the officers exited their vehicle, Martinez tried to run them over, forcing the officers to fire defensively. And that sounds really scary. Officer gets out of their car, a woman drives, trying to kill them with her car. And because I woke up this morning and have never existed in America before, if you tell me that a cop had to use force because they were scared, I just believe it. But unfortunately, when you look into it, it turns out that they were being a little bit dishonest, as is often, non-sarcastically, the pattern here. Now, she miraculously survived being shot 5 times. It's actually amazing. She drove away, was found a mile later, went to the hospital, and survived. That's the miracle here. But the body camera footage, apparently, when you look into it, disproves the narrative that had been spread by Border Patrol and by the DHS. The lawyer for Martinez said that he had repeatedly viewed the footage, and it appeared that the agent suddenly turned his wheel, indicating that Border Patrol had rammed her car, not the other way around. They were the ones potentially killing her using their vehicle as a weapon. Then the officer was reportedly caught saying, "Do something, bitch," before leaping out of the car and almost immediately letting loose with his firearm, shooting her 5 times. So I guess she was fleeing in the car and he decided, well, I don't want to have to waste my time chasing her, so I'm gonna run her off the road, maybe kill her, maybe kill other people. And then I'm gonna jump out, and because I believe I'm in an action movie, I'm gonna yell my catchphrase, and then I'm gonna light up the car. Maybe there's another person there, maybe there's a baby, I don't care. I'm sick of chasing this person, I'm gonna execute them now. That's what it appears to have happened. And then there's an interaction between that cop and another cop. And the lawyer claimed the body camera footage captured another officer asking, "Hey, what happened?" The first officer points to his body camera and said, "Hey, don't speak, you're good." Evidently realizing after the ramming and the shooting, oh yeah, I've got a camera on my chest. See, that's the sort of thing that maybe slips your mind if you've only received a couple of weeks of training because you only signed up because you saw like a really racist German 1940s type meme. And then you signed up because you heard there's gonna be a big sign-on bonus. And then you were trained for like a week and a half and then just let loose to terrorize people that you disagree with. I'm not saying that that's what happened with this guy, but it's starting to feel like that for a lot of them. And so it turns out, no, they were not terrorized by this person. The ones doing the terrorizing are ICE, their Border Patrol, their DHS. And it's not the only instance. There was another case about a month ago. DHS claimed that ICE had shot and killed a criminal illegal alien with a history of reckless driving while trying to detain him. Evidently, that was not the case either. ICE agent responsible for shooting, they said, had been seriously injured in the line of duty, but body cam videos from shortly after the incident showed the agent describing his injuries as nothing major. Again, they're looking for any excuse to escalate things to lethal force, and the body count is going up. In this case, miraculously, she survived, Sharon, but what do you think?
Generally, when we see this much violence, I mean, this is every day. You're presenting these real life stories that seem like some kind of action, violent producer, writer wrote this out in Hollywood, but it's real. We can become desensitized. Not at all. every day I'm more dejected and just incensed by what's going on. If you were to take Border Patrol out of it, ICE out of it, just the facts, what you just described, I actually put it in Chat GPT. The shooter would almost certainly face potential homicide charges. I mean,
Yeah.
This is craziness. And I don't know why we can't just start treating it as it is. If you're in this city, if you're law enforcement, all I know is somebody rammed a car and started shooting 5 times and a woman was hit. And I don't know why people aren't arrested, except they probably can't identify them yet. This is craziness. This is just craziness.
And it has nothing to do with the individual migrants. It's all, that's why they're on TV. That's why they have the ponytail and the makeup and everything. It's to send a message to America. Look what's happening. And here's the thing. So they're trying to influence politics. They're using violence against civilians. I feel like there should be a term for that. I feel like our language has so many words. Why does it have a word for that? But anyway, look, joking aside, this is what we predicted would happen. You're gonna see more and more of this because they're not well trained. They're brought in seemingly only because they want to brutalize people. They're told there's no limits on what they do. In all these cases, have you heard about these cops being fired, being charged with anything? I haven't. Do we even get to know who they are? The people on the scene don't. There's no warrants. You can't see their face. They don't have to have their name on themselves. They're unaccountable, unidentifiable secret police. That's what it is. And they're telling us this is the ultimate final form of ICE. And if it is, then I feel like they're the ones telling us why we need to defund them, why ICE needs to be eliminated when Trump is finally out of office. If they're gonna spend the next 3 years terrorizing American citizens, I feel like they're doing our work for us and convincing the American people we need to move away from this. In any event, let's turn from that now to, again, the figurehead and the media helping this fascist regime to do their propaganda. Let's jump now to this. Conservative podcaster Benny Johnson is a sad loser. He has been for many years, ever since he was fired from BuzzFeed for plagiarizing articles. No, he's sad and pathetic in a variety of different ways. And here's the most recent evidence. So he posted this tweet in an attempt to brag about the bravery of Kristi Noem as she cosplays as some sort of officer or something. He tweets, breaking, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem stares down army of Antifa and a guy in a chicken suit from the rooftop of the ICE facility here in Portland. Noem says, and so he puts in a quote. It's gotta be a strong quote, right? I mean, it's in the video, but he wants to write it out himself. So here's the quote. Hey, guy in the chicken suit, you can do better. Too bad they are uneducated and ill-informed. Wait, I think he forgot to put the good part, the strong. What was that? Why did you put that in the tweet? Noem isn't chicken. Okay, so first of all, this demonstrates a couple of things, that tweet. First of all, it demonstrates why people are sick of breaking going before things, because that's just, you just stood on a rooftop with her. You didn't need to put breaking. No, I understand that it just happened because you're posting it. Also, only put quotes that are impressive. That was pathetic. And then, okay, she's staring down an army of Antifa. Now in that photo, you can't see it. And we're gonna play the video. There's a reason they're not front and center showing the army. Take a look.
Secretary, do you have a message to the protesters, especially the man in the chicken outfit?
Man in the chicken outfit, I just see him now. Goodness sakes. He could do better. Our goal is that people would peacefully protest, but that we would still be allowed to enforce the law in this country. So it's too bad they're uneducated and ill-informed.
Were they not being peaceful? They seemed They seem pretty peaceful. Now I know what you're thinking. At any moment, they're gonna pan to the right, because that obviously wasn't impressive. They're gonna pan to the right, and it's gonna be like Saruman and Wormtongue emerging from the balcony, and there's just an army of the Uruk-hai or something. No, that was it. That was the whole thing. And you saw the guy that was filming it. So he films the first 7 people and a chicken, and then he's like, "Well, that's nothing. Wait, is there a person over there? Oh, I think I see a person in the distance. Does that count?" No, it's not an army. Why did you post that, Benny Johnson? Like, why did Kristi Noem stand on the roof? What was the point of that? And then why, like, I know that you wanted, like, the whole point of this is you're doing regime propaganda, okay? So you go up on the roof and you take the video and, like, why did you post that? That does not help you. Does he not understand that? Is he so used to plagiarizing other people's points that when he has to try to convince someone of something, he just has nothing? And so, yeah, there was like 7 people, there was media, they were all perfectly peaceful. It kind of feels like that proves our point, Sharon. I don't know, what do you think?
I think you can buy an adult unisex chicken suit on Amazon for about $23 right now. It's
Probably
really
less
a
with those
huge
apps,
discount.
those coupon apps.
That's right. You add the coupon, it'll probably be 80% off. Look, he's also embedded. Did you notice how he's like embedded with Kristi Noem right there?
That is so
How much are these
embarrassing.
people being paid? I mean, he's lazy, the plagiarism, anybody can make a mistake, but that's not what we're talking about here. This is about this guy's integrity. And now he's going after one chicken and a peaceful protest and Kristi Noem on the roof. Okay, every woman that I know has stood in front of a mirror and said this side or that side, but not while disappearing people, violating people's rights. Okay, who's paying this guy how much, and does his family still accept him at the dinner table? Because
well, I mean, traditionally, Sharon, the pay has come from Russia. Actually, he was one of those people that was paid to do propaganda for Russia.
Yeah.
Now he's being paid to do propaganda for Trump.
Yeah. My Pizzagate co-anchor, I told you about him before on this show. He was also taking money from Russia. Now I think he's with them full time. So I understand the crowd now.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, look, again, that's why we stress, and this is a version of sort of what AOC was saying about Stephen Miller. Again, mocking them doesn't necessarily take away the temporary power that they have, but they should still be mocked because this is a really pathetic way to live your life. Again, he's had multiple phases of that. He literally got fired from BuzzFeed for plagiarizing, and then he's just tried to glom on to whatever politician he can, takes money from Russia. You're embedded with Kristi Noem. You know you don't respect her. And like, again, I don't know what his family's like. I don't know what his wife and his kids are like. Maybe he'll be lucky enough that he gets through this and his kids don't grow up to know who he was and what he chose to do in this time. This most important of times in our life in terms of American politics, he chose to just bow down to the regime, to just do what the regime, so that he can have a nicer car or whatever, or a nicer kitchen. This temporary stuff that doesn't count for anything ultimately. And certainly is not gonna generate respect among your friends, your family, your kids. I don't know. You're riding around with the secretary. I'm sure that you think that you're making all the right moves, but personally, I think it's utterly pathetic. Anyway, with that said, we do have this other angle on this. Okay, so is that more or less pathetic than the other stuff he's doing? Let's turn now to this. A few weeks ago, Benny Johnson posted this. Right-wingers in the wake of Charlie Kirk being killed were posting tons of stuff like this. Left-wing commentators must be held accountable. Again, weeks later, there's like basically no evidence that the guy was left-wing or that that's why he killed Charlie Kirk, but whatever, let's pretend that that's what it was. They're actively fueling violence, celebrating death, and inciting attacks. There must be a reckoning. How could you do that? How could you just be so fast and loose with violence? When the temperature is so high in this country, we gotta bring it down. You just, like you're making jokes about violence? Not him. He would never do that until a couple weeks go by, and then he posts this on social media.
Surrender that gigantic pie to the free my rascally restaurant.
Yeah, so a reminder, conservatives love AI. Oh my God, they love AI. They desperately want to feel cool. And I can post in a prompt and I can temporarily, I'm cool, right? Look, in this video, I have abs. I'm cool in this video, right? My God, every single one of them desperately wishes that they were creative or artistic. They're not. Instead, they do the thing they do for the regime, but they want to feel like it. Oh, they love AI. So what did he do? He went into Sora or whatever, and he was like, "Make me Batman and have me beating up Mexicans," and then he just posted it, knowing my audience is gonna like this. I'm not saying his audience are racist. I'm saying he thinks they're racist because he typed that in. My favorite part was when he punches the Mexican woman in the face. And then he posted on social media. He really liked the part where he punched a woman in the face. That made him feel cool. And he actually ended up deleting it. Do you know how bad a thing one of these loser ass grifters needs to be for them to delete it? But they thought it was so cool. And why did he do that? Because like the right likes the sombrero memes, and no sane person, no person who's not terminally online understands at all what the point of any of that is supposed to be. But they're just like, oh, that's the thing we're doing? We're posting sombreros? Oh, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna punch a woman in a sombrero. Again, I don't understand any of this, Sharon, but this is who they look up to. This is what they aspire to be. What do you think?
Yeah. I don't understand it either. And it makes me think when you say they like it, yeah, I understand the audience, but like, is this a one-man band? Is there not one person on the team? I mean, I hear you run things by your team here and tell you, what do you think about this? And ultimately, it's going to be your decision. But is it just this one person who thinks that this is cool, funny, cute? I mean, is there any filter here? Because it was corny, offensive, violent with the pow, the words too. It's just stupid, ignorant and stupid, and the opposite of cool, that I can tell you.
Yeah, pow and zowie. Like, isn't it fun when you just go to a Walmart and you see a Latino person and you punch him in the face? But you left, you're so violent. Oh, you're like, oh, the temperature, you're normalizing violence. You're targeting people. Everybody, why can't you just be responsible and come out and say, all violence is wrong? Why can't you be like us? Pow zowie. I'm cool, I'm a cartoon, I'm a Batman or whatever. Well, just to briefly ruin it for him, this is an appearance that Batman did. Apparently, he was speaking to a group of high school football players. And he said in this classic Batman appearance, don't believe those crackpot lies about people who worship differently, or whose skin is of a different color, or whose parents come from another country. Remember our American heritage of freedom and equality. Don't weaken our country. A nation divided by prejudice is like a football team without teamwork. So get together, work and play in harmony, and you'll have a successful team. It's almost like he's saying, diversity is our strength. And so it's weird that Benny Johnson would choose to cast himself as woke ass Batman. Anyway, I think that we should probably take our first break. We'll figure out this break what we're gonna do because we're a little bit over, but we'll be back after this. Just weak, broken men worshiping other weak, broken men. It's so goddamn cringy and pathetic. It is so pathetic. I get that the technology and the software are available for anyone, no matter how stupid and cringy and unoriginal you are, that you can have a show. Anybody can have a show. I understand that. What I don't understand is why anyone would watch it. I don't get that. And I'm not just applying this to him. There are other loser ass grifters. Laura Loomer could broadcast. Why is there a single person watch? I don't understand it. I just don't understand it. Anyway, let's see. Kai says in a super chat, I've been calling Trump and all his mouthpieces the dead-eyed brigade. Have y'all noticed that no matter how performative they get, all their eyes are blank, soulless voids? I mean, Kristi Noem is a great example of that. Gorgle Dragon says, did you hear about the priest being shot by DHS? If you're talking about the priest who got like pepper pelleted or whatever, or tear gassed, I'm not sure if that's what you're talking about, but yes, they have been, if that's what you're talking about, they're abusing priests, they're abusing cops, are getting tear gassed as well. And I love that as a moment because it's a reminder, if necessary, to those cops that you are only cool to them so long as you are working to suppress the same people they are. The second you stand up to them, the second that you defend the actual people of your area, you saw on January 6th what they'll do to you. They will crack your skull open with a Trump flag. And so I appreciate your support if you're providing it, and you should be supported in doing that. But they don't love you, or at the very least, their love is very conditional. The Artsy Fartsy Dragon gifted 5 subs over on Twitch, which is super nice of you. Thank you. And has been here for 47 months and says, love me some Johnny Damage. Thank you so much. Rad Rocket, been here for 18 months, says 18 months of daily face palms. It is. CD and Northstalk Dad, thank you for gifting that membership. I do appreciate it. Don Data Dragon says, AI was created for racism. They gassed a black neighborhood to make that slop. Yeah, no, they're driving up our electricity prices. They are polluting us. They're using up our water so that people can produce that. I don't want to say too confidently. I'm not sure that I've seen a video produced through AI that needed to be. There are millions that have been. I don't think I've seen a single one that needed to be. Billions, actually. And it's just pathetic, uncreative people. It's for them. It is idiocracy. The only thing idiocracy got wrong was that it just portrayed these people as just consuming the slop, which they will. They will gorge on it, but they also want to make the slop too. Anyway, Valco says we should create a drinking game where we take a shot every time John makes a nerdy reference. That was Lord of the Rings. It's not like the most remote nerdy. You don't know who Wormtongue is? Come on. By the way, can I ask a question? Sharon, this is mostly for you, but the audience can answer it too. I was thinking about this recently because I'm doing a thing where now when I'm working out, I have a little TV in my area where I work out. And rather than like thinking about what I want to have on it, which takes up a lot of time, I'm just marathoning the MCU. So just when I start working out, I put on the last movie I was watching and then I turn it off when I'm done or whatever. And you can tell how much I've been working out that I've been doing this for a few months and I just got to Iron Man 2. But anyway, that aside, in like 15 years or whatever, we don't have time. Okay, I have a hypothetical. I'm gonna save it for the next break. It has to do with the MCU and my existential growing dread as an elderly man. We'll get to that. But anyway, we have more news first, so don't go anywhere. More to talk about after this. Okay, everybody, let's jump back into the news, starting with this. MAGA has lost their mind about a lot of things, so I'll be more specific. In this case, it's about a new country song that they think is unfairly going after ICE. The artist is Zach Bryan, who released a snippet of his unreleased track, Bad News, on his Instagram. It was over the weekend, and here's the specific lyrics that have caused them to lose their mind. I heard the cops come, cocky mother effers, ain't they? And ICE is gonna come bust down your door, try to build a house no one builds no more. But I got a telephone. Kids are all scared and all alone. The bars stopped bumping, the rock stopped rolling, the middle finger's rising and it won't stop showing. Got some bad news, the fading of the red, white, and blue. And they don't like that. I guess country music is supposed to be deferential to government. Oh, you're supposed to like bow down for the cops. That's what like outlaw country's about, right? Isn't that what it's about? It's about everything being bad. Isn't it generally a depressing sort of music? But anyway, it's not supposed to be depressing in this way, okay? Sure, the red, white, and blue could be fading, but only because of them gays. You're not supposed to say it's about, cops running rampant over people's rights. So they were not happy about that. They got in their feels. And man, how mad must they be at this guy that they're focusing on this rather than Bad Bunny? But anyway, DC Drano said we were just invaded by over 10 million illegal aliens. And who does Zach Bryan cheer for? The illegals. I smell a boycott brewing because it's been 10 minutes since the last one. And that's just all they subsist on now. There has to be a boycott. I mean, somebody said something and I don't agree with every bit of it. We have to ruin them. This is the never-ending cancel culture of the right. So it's not just him. A literal spokesperson for DHS chimed in, said, while Zach Bryan wants to open the gates to criminal illegal aliens and has condemned heroic ICE officers, something in the orange tells me a majority of Americans disagree with him and support President Trump's great American revival. Godspeed, Zach. Now, I don't know exactly what was telling Abigail Jackson that. It damn sure wasn't the polls, because the polls show that people do not agree with them on immigration. But also, where in those lyrics did Zach Bryan say he wants to open the gates to 10 million more illegal? He just said, like, you're busting down doors and like you're abusing not just the migrants, you're abusing American citizens. You're zip tying American citizen kids. Like you're abusing us. Is he not supposed to stand up for them? Like, I thought that was kind of the whole point. What do you think a patriot is? Is it just someone who bows down to the right dictator? Like, oh yeah, no, if it's a commie, I would totally fight for him, but I love fascist boot leather. Let me lick it some more. Again, that does not seem outlaw country to me, Sharon. What do you think?
It's the symbolism. Damn it, you will not make country woke. Okay, country music is not going to be woke. This is among the most important boycotts that they can get after, because the floodgates could open. Can you imagine? I mean, he's going to have to give some kind of primetime apology here, because hey, now in this climate, internment camps and things are, well, they're just wonderful American traditions that we all should be proud of. And this man is behaving like some kind of treasonous bastard in his music. How dare he? He's as bad as Bad Bunny. He actually is. They're one and the same. They should perform together at the Super Bowl.
I don't understand why they're so surprised. The song is bad news. It's not good news. And he's Bad Bunny. They warned you going in it was gonna be bad. Why are you so surprised with the final result? And also, why have they become so sensitive? Why does everything need to be made exactly for them? You don't have to listen to this Zach Bryan song. You know how I know that? Because I've never listened to a Zach Bryan song and I'm still here. I'm alive. You could just do that for this particular one. And I know that you think that like country music is supposed to be this unassailable last bastion. And I know it's been rough for you the last few years after what Beyonce did to it and Old Country Road or whatever. Like I know that these have been hard times, but you still got your other people. You could still listen to them. Listen to the old stuff if you don't like the new stuff. Anyway, let's jump ahead to graphic 5 because he's responding to this and he's saying like, you're getting on me. You don't understand the full song. It's actually gonna hit both sides. And I don't know exactly what that will look like in practice. Is he gonna hit the migrants too? Is he gonna talk about Sleepy Joe? I don't know, but we'll see. Again, we don't even have the actual song. But he says, I wrote this song months ago. I posted this song 3 months ago as a snippet. This shows you how divisive a narrative can be when shoved down our throats through social media. This song is about how much I love this country and everyone in it more than anything. When you hear the rest of the song, you will understand the full context that hits on both sides of the aisle. Everyone using this now as a weapon is only proving how devastatingly divided we all are. We need to find our way back. To see how much it stirred up makes me not only embarrassed, but kind of scared. Left wing or right wing, we're all one bird, an American. That's clever, I've never heard that before. To be clear, I'm on neither of these radical sides. Again, and by the way, right, I'm gonna stop there. He's giving you what you want. He's implying that both sides are radical, which is not true. He's doing the both sides thing that you should be happy with. Again, you guys can tear apart the Constitution, you can invade multiple cities, and then also we sometimes put women in action movies. Again, it's both sides. Both sides are radical, everybody. Is that not what you want? He's giving you what you want. Anyway, again, it's this need to have everything cultural. Everything has to be designed for them, and it's really sad. Sharon, any final thoughts?
No, it is sad. And I wish he wouldn't have even given them the out of like both sides. I'm not on either side. This is pathetic, but this is what happens when you exist in this alternative universe. I mean, we are immersed in like some kind of, well, I keep going back to Hollywood movies here where they, it's like they've written this script around an alternative universe and we know nothing about the real world. And it's kind of fascinating to go sit in a theater for 2 hours and watch. Only this is actually our reality now. So no, his song needs to be rewritten. Okay, it needs to be rewritten.
I don't. I'm fine. Again, I'm gonna go on for the rest of my life never listening to one of his songs. I'm perfectly happy to do that. And that, by the way, that's not about him. I apply that standard to almost every single music artist. I don't want to get involved in all the culture war. My final point. He talks about how divided we are, and he's totally right, by the way. Why did everyone freak out about this song? Is it because everyone organically came across the song, heard the lyrics and thought, hey, wait, I didn't like that lyric. No, 99.9% of the people who think that they're mad at this song were told that they should be. And maybe they ended up as it, but they were pushed a notification on Twitter or TikTok or whatever. Damn, this guy, screw. It's all algorithmic. There was a study, by the way, of the, and again, you shouldn't need a study, but what was her name? Sydney Sweeney. You know how all the leftists freaked out about the ad, and so the right had to stand up for blonde hair and boobs or whatever? No, that's not what happened. It was barely any negativity towards the ad. A lot of it seemingly bot driven. The right freaked out performatively. They pretended that they were standing up to something to give themselves something to talk about. That is one of the things that I think is so scary about how divided we are, is when we don't even have two sides angry on other sides of things. We have basically nothing, and the other side is like, well, wouldn't it be cool if they were mad? What if they were radicals? And then I get to be a strong patriot standing up to them. I'm gonna pretend that that's what's going on. And then that becomes, according to Fox News, what's going on. It has no connection to real life at all. And God, trillions of dollars being spent by tech billionaires on all these platforms, and we can't even have real culture wars. Anyway, with that said, let's move on to our next topic. Okay, wait, you're saying I should skip the D block? I'm confused. I have conflicting messages coming from producers. We're gonna jump into it. I think I understand what you're saying. Okay, apologies. I'm doing in real time stuff that I should have done during the break. Okay, let's jump into this. I think it's safe to say that Pam Bondi has now taken over Carolyn Leavitt's role as like the most arrogant and sure of herself person in the Trump administration as a result of the hearing that she did in the Senate yesterday. She came prepared for war, not to like answer questions, not to like, advance the cause of justice, for instance, with Jeffrey Epstein. She's just prepared to not answer any questions and to turn everything around on those damn Democrats that expect her to actually serve the American people. Let's give you an example of how that works on the topic of Epstein, starting with this.
You pushed the FBI to review approximately 100,000 Epstein-related records on an arbitrarily short deadline in March, and the FBI was directed to flag any documents that mentioned President Trump.
Senator Durbin, I find it very interesting that you refused repeated Republican requests to release the Epstein flight logs in 2023 and 2024. You fought that. Did you take money from Reid Hoffman, campaign donations,
Never
who was a
heard.
huge Epstein friend? Why did you fight for years? Why did you fight to not disclose the flight logs, Senator Durbin?
I can tell you I did not refuse. One of the senators here wished to produce those logs, and I asked her to put it in writing, and she never did. So who gave the order to flag records related to President Trump?
To flag records for President Trump?
To flag any records which included his name.
I'm not going to discuss anything about that with you, Senator.
Eventually, you're going to have to answer for your conduct in this. You won't do it today, but eventually you will.
I love her like confidently, I'm not gonna answer anything about Epstein. He should have responded, yeah, no, I didn't really expect that you wanted to. It's a cover up. You're gonna continue covering it up. The thing is, when he asks you a question like, did you flag records that involve Trump? And she says, I'm not gonna answer that. Well, the potential answers were yes or no. If it was no, and you weren't asked to flag those, then wouldn't you say that? Like if you had an answer that makes you and Trump look totally cool, and you could say that under oath and not potentially perjure yourself, wouldn't you say that? And since you're not saying that, is it unreasonable of me to imagine that it's because the other answer is the one that's true? Like you could answer these questions. She thinks that all of these are really cool rhetorical tricks. She's like, didn't you take money from Reid Hoffman, a guy who also knew Epstein? He was a friend of Epstein. Your boss was a friend of Epstein. Why are you telling me something like secondhand about a guy that donated to Dick Durbin? I don't get, Trump was his buddy. Are you concerned about friends or not? Why are you like, why didn't you release those flight logs 2 years ago? When you say that, you're posturing as if you care more than him, but you're not releasing things now. If you really want to demonstrate that you care about transparency, don't do it with a quippy little remark to Dick Durbin. Do it by releasing the goddamn Epstein files, which we know you're not actually going to do. Let's go to just a little bit more of a responses to some of the questions again on that topic.
Attorney General Bondi, why did you publicly claim to have the Epstein client list waiting for your review and then produce nothing relevant to that claim?
Senator Durbin, if you listen to my entire clip on that, I said I had not reviewed it yet, that it was sitting on my desk along with the JFK files, the Martin Luther King files. And I said I had not yet reviewed it. And if you see our memo on Epstein, you will see, excuse me, our memo on Epstein clearly points out that there was no client list.
There's been public reporting that Jeffrey Epstein showed people photos of President Trump with half-naked young women. Do you know if the FBI found those photographs in their search of Jeffrey Epstein's safe or premises or otherwise? Have you seen any such thing?
You know, Senator Whitehouse, you sit here and make salacious remarks, once again trying to slander President Trump left and right, when you're the one who was taking money from one of Epstein's closest confidants, I believe. I could be wrong, correct me, Reid Hoffman.
Yeah, you could be wrong, but the issue is that even if you're right, what does that have to do with the Epstein files? Let's say that he did. Let's say that he took the money from Reid Hoffman, and let's say that Reid Hoffman knew Epstein. Okay, then Dick Durbin is still less connected to Epstein than Donald Trump is. You're as connected, then you get a job from Donald Trump, who is friends with Epstein. Again, even if you're right, that doesn't have anything to do with the topic. You can say that it's salacious claims, but it is also a question of fact. Were those photographs in these files? Did Epstein have all these photos of Trump with half-naked women? If, by the way, you haven't seen that, then just say that. And then say, no, they don't exist. It's just a salacious claim from you. But did she say that? Did she say, I've reviewed the files and there's none of those photos? No. So again, we're left imagining that with how defensive she's being, the only explanation is that she does not want to reveal that. Now, look, if you're new to American politics, maybe you think that this is how the head of the DOJ always acts, but I'm here to tell you that it is not. They are supposed to be at least semi-independent. They're supposed to be a law enforcement officer. She was acting as if she was just like a character witness for Donald Trump. And that's not how it's supposed to work, Sharon. What do you think?
The only reason this kind of thing is familiar to me is because I watched The Real Housewives of Miami, and this is how Larsa, Pippen, and Lisa argue. It's about deflection. Deflect, deflect, deflect. This was pathetic. She's the attorney general, right? I mean, this is pathetic. Answer the question. And honestly, Dick Durbin usually puts me to sleep with that, monotone thing. But I thought it was played just right. Like, we see what's going on with you. Answer the question. Oh, you're not? Okay. One day you will answer for your conduct. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
She's not even worth it. It's just an exercise to get her on the record. Let's just get her on the record for future proceedings, hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, it's potentially getting her, on perjury, but again, she's not saying literally anything, so I guess she's not perjuring herself. But she has all these opportunities to clear his name. If this stuff isn't true, she's not doing that. It implies that it's because it's true. I just want to end with this. This is an indictment of the Republican Party. Let's go to this poll, graphic 1. Now, overall, people absolutely despise the way that the Trump administration is handling. It's only 20% of national adults think that they're handling the Epstein files well. But that said, 45% of Republicans think they are. Far more than think they're handling it poorly. This is what they're seeing. They're seeing stuff like Pam Bondi. They're seeing stuff like Donald Trump say, Ghislaine Maxwell, who's that? I haven't heard that name in a long time. And 45% of Republicans are like, bang up job, heck of a job, Brownie, on the Epstein files. Absolutely insane. Okay, we have to take our second break. More to get to after this. Okay, we're gonna jump into more comments. First though, this is a hypothetical. This is what I was thinking about. Let's say 10, 15 years pass or whatever. Raina comes home, she's got her friends, she's got her boyfriend, whatever. And I'm there and I'm watching Iron Man 2 or something. Is that the same thing as like my dad watching a World War II movie or a Western or something? Is that what that's gonna be in like 10, 15 years? It's like, oh, it's that thing old people like. Because you're watching Ant-Man. Is Ant-Man gonna be like the good, the bad, and the ugly? What do you think?
I'm going to say no.
No?
And the reason I say no is because these are ongoing franchises. They're things that you could watch with, a parent and a grandkid or something. I'm going to say no. I
Yeah.
could be wrong.
Maybe it would have been different.
Yeah.
Maybe the Westerns needed to be more 4-quadrant back in the day. You needed to have like plucky sidekick or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll see. Okay. By the way, Evening Tab had responded to my comments about AI, saying, "Don't make AI left versus right, John. AI is the future and shouldn't be partisan." Look, I maybe in some ways I agree a little bit, but I don't think that it's equal. First of all, I don't know that it is the future. I think that it is really failing to come through on any of the bold proclamations that people made about it. And not just for businesses, but also even for consumers. I mean, how well did it work for Apple to try to sell their last iPhone just based on AI? People aren't finding the tools to be useful. So I don't think it is really necessarily the future, but also when it is doing the damage that it's doing, economic damage to people's ability to get water, pay for electricity, those sorts of things. When it is putting people out of work, should left and right respond to it in the same way? Like this sort of stuff, there are threats to people's health, to people's financial well-being. I understand why some right-wingers, some well-connected people, the CEO class and all that would be perfectly cool with it. They've always been fine with that stuff. But why should we just bow down for it? Like, I'm not saying that no leftist can use AI. I'm on Instagram. I see that like every political meme these days is generated by AI, and I don't like it. And some of those are posted by Democrats. But that doesn't mean that the effect is just cool or should be seen as cool from the point of view of a leftist or a Democrat or something. So anyway, and also, I think the response in terms of legislation needs to be more partisan, because so far it seems like both sides are perfectly willing to just throw their hands up and just let these companies do whatever the hell they want. I would like to see a little bit of partisan disagreement about that. But anyway, thank you for the comment. I do appreciate it. Okay, Fat Seder, thank you for being a member and then for gifting 5 memberships. Super nice of you. Thank you for doing that. Driver Dragon says the Trump administration is following Hitler's playbook, but they're so stupid they can't even follow the instructions. There's certainly some overlap. Azamal's Prophet says, why isn't Homeland Security and the FBI swarming on the judge in SC whose house was burned down because of her decision on the bench? Oh no, I mean, if it was Kristi Noem's house, then yeah, no, every single special agent would be there. That, I haven't even heard any updates about that, by the way, in the past couple of days. Sirius Lestrange says, in a super chat, are there boycotts just an excuse not to buy something they can't afford anymore, but now with a fake purpose? Look, everybody wants to feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves. And some people do that for, I think, fairly explicitly moral causes. The people on the flotilla, for instance, are willing to sacrifice their lives in pursuit of like a moral objective. Everybody wants that, but some people, they don't want to do anything hard. They don't want to question anyone powerful. So instead, you just boycott a song. Okay, I should have probably clarified. We're moving on to E, right? Yeah, I think we probably have to do that. Let's jump into this. Something is wrong with Pete Hegseth. I mean, something new, obviously, like a lot has been wrong with him throughout his life with the drinking and like all that stuff. There's a lot that's been wrong with him. But lately, and especially since Charlie Kirk was killed, he really seems to be falling apart even more. This guy is scared, and it's not just me saying that, it's people in his orbit that are saying that. And there's been signs of this for some time. We've been doing reporting since he was sworn in that they're spending insane amounts of money for swarms of bodyguards for this guy. And it was easy to just attribute that all along the way to like the normal thing where conservative men cosplay that they're tough, but they're actually scared of literally everyone they see. But apparently, according to insider sources, he is more scared than before. And it apparently is a result of Charlie Kirk being killed. These insider sources say that Hegseth is becoming increasingly obsessed with his own security, exhibiting frantic behavior such as fidgeting and pacing during meetings. Quote, there's a manic quality about it. Or let me rephrase, an even more manic quality, which is really saying something. Dude is crawling out of his skin. An insider described him as being paranoid and panicked about his safety. So look, the pacing and the twitchiness and everything, maybe that's alcohol withdrawal. I'm not sure. I'm not a doctor or anything, but maybe it's just like psychic fear manifesting physically. He's apparently been freaking out on his staff. He like goes off when people talk about the questionable legality of just murdering people who happen to be on a boat in the ocean or whatever. He doesn't like when you question him about that sort of thing. And again, maybe that's just the normal intolerance that a lot of right-wing men have to being challenged on literally anything, particularly when they're not qualified to speak on it. But maybe it's a growing problem. One of the sources says he takes things personally when challenged, like full-blown tantrums. And again, they are paying so much money, and not just to assemble the swarms of bodyguards, but taking agents off of important work so that they can follow him around. Remember, he wanted to like carry a gun around, have his bodyguards carry guns around inside of the Pentagon. And that really does speak to a guy who's weirdly scared about his own survival. Sharon, what do you make about this?
Well, and not just that, he's scared inside the Pentagon, right? I mean, these are your people. This is your crew, right? I mean, I don't know. When you walk in to do the main show, do you fear for your life? It's just jank sitting there, but okay. Yeah, listen, at some point you need to look in the mirror and say, how am I living? And I hope nothing happens to him, because then the dumbest guy to ever do this job would go down in history as some kind of martyr. And I don't want anything to happen to him. I'm not that kind of person, but I'm just saying, then we'd rewrite history again, which America loves to do, and turn it into a guy who is he was just brilliant. And we've lost another one of our best and brightest. So yeah. I hope they're protecting him well.
Yeah, obviously all of these people deserve to have protection. He is still the Secretary of Defense, and I point that out because I know it would bother him if he heard it. But yeah, he doesn't need hundreds of people. He doesn't need millions spent on his defense. He is constantly surrounded by security already. He's in one of the most fortified buildings on the face of the earth. And this is the issue where like it really doesn't get talked about enough about the conservative male, like the baked in fear that is just their everyday status quo. Like it is a problem for society at this point. It's not just their own problem that could be cured with therapy, but unfortunately they're not big enough to pursue it. No, now it's actually a problem for the American taxpayer. And I'll conclude by saying the reports also indicate that his wife is apparently feeding into some of this. She apparently considers him to be a potential target and is really worried about him being targeted. So she wants him to be surrounded by security. And it is possible that that's almost like an endearing thing of like a wife being worried for her husband. It's also possible that she just thinks that if he's surrounded by security, he's less likely to make a move on someone. Both are, I think, plausible theories. Anyway, with that said, why don't we move into, I think the more interesting development on him. This is spicy, take a look at this.
An entire generation of generals and admirals were told that they must parrot the insane fallacy that, quote, our diversity is our strength. Of course, we know our unity is our strength. They had to put out dizzying DEI and LGBTQI+ statements. No more identity months, DEI offices, dudes in dresses. No more climate change worship. No more division, distraction, or gender delusions. No more debris. As I've said before, and will say again, we are done with that.
So he's super mixed up in all that. First of all, diversity and unity are not opposites of one another. That's not how that works literally at all. People concerned about climate change don't worship climate change. Actually, we want to stop it. Is that part of what you're not understanding? I feel like that's a significant thing. Also, what does that have to do with wokeness? I don't know, he lumps it in there. It seems to make sense to him. But the reason it turns out that his like performative anti-wokeness is so jumbled is that maybe it's not actually what he believes, because it's now been revealed that back in college, he he had a very different opinion on wokeness and all of those things that he just rattled off right there. He apparently wrote a master's thesis back in 2013 when he went to Harvard University, which evidently is the case. I know that there is no evidence from anything he's said and done, but evidently they did allow him in there. And he wrote a master's thesis that backed equity, diversity, and accessibility. He apparently proposed establishing a public high school focused on math and science in his home state of Minnesota. And he said that some students in Minnesota nationwide were being left behind in STEM education. And this new public school would help to address that crisis. It shouldn't just be for people with money. We need to be socially conscious of other socioeconomic statuses, he said. He said the proposed school would be merit-based, but also it would be for the best and brightest students with a balance of race, class, gender, and geography. He wrote that closing racial achievement gaps is a laudable goal, and he actually advocated for cooperation with state lawmaker Melissa Hortman, a Democrat who had been vocal on education. And yes, we mean that particular Melissa Hortman, which is interesting. This sort of tracks not only his evolution over time, but that of the right wing, that previously he actually wanted to solve these societal problems. Now he's running cover for a fascist regime. Meanwhile, along the way, she ends up getting killed by the same sort of out of control right-wing violence that he is now an active part of that movement. Here is a quote from his actual master's thesis, and this is just 12 years ago. Ensuring low income and minority children have the same opportunities as more affluent majority students is an essential goal and worth pursuing with vigor and substantial investment. Our country and state must strive for equal opportunity for all, regardless of race, class, geography, or gender. Now it's patooey, no men in dresses. I don't care about that. If I see a black pilot, I think, well, maybe I should get off this plane. And so, I don't know, I'm left wondering, like, was he lying then or is he lying now? Or is he like a Ted Cruz and he never really had a position and he can't really lie about this stuff because he doesn't actually really have any political values or principles? I don't know. I only know that his spokesman tried to provide cover for him after this was revealed, saying the assignment was to write a paper from a bipartisan perspective, which is why the recommendation section at the end reflects bipartisan solutions. By the way, it's not an assignment. It's not a paper, it's his master's thesis. It wasn't a hypothetical, it was his proposed bipartisan solutions. But then Sharon Parnell says his views from 2013 are consistent with his views now as Secretary of War. Meritocracy should reign supreme over woke ideology and DEI. No, that's not consistent, actually. It's the exact opposite thing of what he was advocating for. And Sharon, my view is probably he's doing what all of them do. They previously believed a variety of different things, and then they realized, oh, if I want to get on Fox, if I want to get into power, I need to say a bunch of troll-ass clown crap. And that's what he does. And maybe it actually reflects him. I don't know. Maybe he actually hates black and brown people, gay people, women as much as he performs on stage. What do you think?
I think it could be a hybrid. Number one, we really got to think about how we think about Harvard as being this great institution. If like anyone can get in, any fool. But I think the hybrid part is this. You're in Harvard, you're around other people, perhaps a roommate who think like you. I mean, look at J.D. Vance, another Ivy Leaguer who evolved. And then you kind of had no integrity. So yeah, you kind of, buy in a little bit. Or he may have to admit that somebody wrote it for him. I think that could be likely. Somebody wrote that for him, okay? He didn't author it, so he's good. Perhaps his views haven't changed. He delivers his racism and sexism and misogyny with such vigor. I have to believe it's deep inside of him. I think those are his true beliefs.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. Maybe he's like a Benny Johnson or a Melania Trump, but he's just like, writing's hard. I'll just take what someone else said.
Sure.
Maybe that's the case. Anyway, that is unfortunately all the time we have for the first hour of the show. We have a lot more to get to in the aftermath though. So if you're watching live, don't go anywhere. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to the Aftermath, one and all. Thank you for being here. I'm here. Sharon's here. Sharon, thank you for being here. It's always a pleasure. Ron Allen gifted 10 memberships, which is super nice. Huang Jun says, ICE is a group of out of shape, overweight, current day Steven Seagal looking trigger happy sociopaths drunk on an excessive amount of undeserved power. I don't necessarily agree with every part of that, but the majority of it, yeah, sign me up. By the way, Trey had one of his car videos that he did. He put up, I think it was either yesterday or today, about Chicago and Portland and all that. And if you're a fan of Trey, it's my favorite video that he's done. And it's very funny as well, making fun of ICE. You should definitely check it out. Anyway, with that said, let's jump back in the news, starting with this.
Hey guys, JD Vance here. Just want to let you know that we are relaunching the VP's TikTok page. I got a little lazy the last few months, was focused on the job of being VP, not enough on TikToks. That's about to change. So follow along. We'll update you on what's going on in the White House, business, of state. We'll update you on what's going on politically. Maybe some sombrero memes here and there, but follow along and we'll look forward to connecting on TikTok. See you then.
Oh, he's so cool. He's like one of the kids with his flapping arms, and he does a little thing where he just boosts himself a little bit because he doesn't know how to use his body, and he just feels super out of place. But don't worry, he was working really hard as VP. You know, all those accomplishments he had as VP. I don't even need to say them. I think we all know what they are. And then there might be sombrero memes. You know, how they put a sombrero on a Democrat, and that's a joke. I don't know. I don't know what the point of it is, but we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it on TikTok. We're gonna use some AI. It's gonna be super awesome. And I know that JD Vance being on TikTok is kind of a hard sell, sarcasm aside, because he has no charisma and he's not likable or anything. But some people are having fun with his return to TikTok. And I know because I went to that video and I looked at the comments, and the comments looked kind of like this. They just flooded him with the big baby faced bald meme that they do, and him with the hat, which I prefer. That's my favorite, the little spinny cap, because it really gets across his energy. Now, not everybody disliked him. We did leave in there that's my future president, seemingly a serious person who saw him talking about the sombrero memes and was like, yeah, no, I want him to be in charge of the free world. It's a weird people. I don't really understand it. And some of them were super on board. Like Sue responded, sombrero memes, yes. But wait, hey, I don't think that's what he meant. He doesn't want Epstein with the sombrero memes. But it is, I guess I do get the joke, actually. It is kind of funny. But he's not the only one excited for them to be on TikTok. Donald Trump is excited about it too. He's excited overall about TikTok these days. In fact, he wants credit for TikTok existing. He posted this saying, to all of those young people of TikTok, I saved TikTok, so you owe me big. Now you're looking at me in the Oval Office, and someday one of you are gonna be sitting right at this desk, and you're gonna be doing a great job also. I don't know what that last part is about. But the more important part is, you owe him, young people. You know why? Because he saved TikTok by, in his first term, saying that it needs to be sold and we need to get rid of it, and he hates it. And then a rich guy who's invested in TikTok paid him off, and so then he stopped being opposed to it for corruption. And then he helped it to be sold to a bunch of right wingers. They're gonna flood it with right wing propaganda, and all those videos about Gaza that are like an unobscured, honest take on what's going on with the genocide. Those will be banned, and so you owe him. For some reason, I mean, it's gonna be lame. TikTok is gonna suck. They're gonna definitely kill it, Sharon. But for now, he deserves credit. What do you think? Do you like JD Vance? Do you like Trump on TikTok?
I hate it. But part of me is concerned because, when the election was on and it was Kamala versus Trump for 107 days, my daughter and her friends all came to me and said, Trump is rude and racist, mommy, but his TikToks are the best. Whoever's running his account is great. And I'm like, so they could indoctrinate more people. Not that performance that you showed with JD Vance, by the way. That's not gonna cut it with the kids. But I'm a little concerned.
Yeah, this I think is very related to my overall concerns about the rise of AI slop. That like there do seem to be people that want just trash, just quick trash that doesn't mean anything. Like there were people in the replies to that JD Vance thing who are like, yeah, this is a good video. And I don't understand what anyone is getting out of that, what the point of
It
any
trains
of
their
that
mind.
is. Yeah, I don't know. I am very worried about the slop. I'm very worried about the algorithms. I'm very worried about what's happening to people. But anyway, at least it does exist. I think that's good. I'm not really a TikToker in any, for the most part, but so long as it is relatively free, and we'll see how long that lasts. I do think that it does, it has a social benefit of allowing information to be spread. We'll see. I don't know. Again, I don't understand what the appeal of some of this is, but we'll see. And with that said, let's turn now to the more traditional media. Let's jump to this. More of the private communications between hosts and producers of Fox News have now been revealed, and all of this is still coming out of the massive lawsuits that went against Fox News after the 2020 election, when they participated in deceiving their viewers about the results of the election and Donald Trump's efforts to overturn the results of the election. So specifically, the Smartmatic lawsuit has resulted in a lot of those private communications coming out, and some of these are just fascinating. So let's go to this. These were curated on Twitter, by the way, by media reporter for The Guardian, Jeremy Barr. The first shows this. It's Fox employees apparently at one point demanded a commitment from Fox opinion hosts and producers to only tell viewers the truth rather than spin or reckless conjecture that causes harm to real people, it's pretty fascinating that the employees of a company need to be like, hey, could you guys stop hurting the country? And I know what a lot of you are probably thinking. Why are you working there if you think that it's hurting the country? If you think that they're just lying, but I guess, isn't it good? They're probably conservatives if they're working there. And yet there's some of them that see the lies being perpetuated and want Fox to be better. That's almost a sweet story, I think. Anyway, employees also apparently implored management to crack down on conspiracy theories and hateful rhetoric spewed by such hosts. Now, by the way, these messages are coming from like 5 years ago, so I can give a spoiler alert. The employees were not successful in getting management to do that. Unfortunately, the conspiracy theories continue. They suggested Fox put in some general ethical guidelines or positions overseeing editorial content so that we can limit the spread of insensitive and or false information, racism, and xenophobia. And they said the content that was being put out was hateful and has made the world more divided and an angry place. The content we produce has made the world a worse place. And that is, again, so damning. This is not some blue-haired Starbucks barista saying this. These are employees at Fox. They're saying, we see these people, we know these people, we work on this content and we put it out, and it's making everything worse. I wish that Fox viewers could sit down with Fox employees just for a few minutes. And I don't even just mean these employees. I think that if they were to sit down with like Jesse Waters and Sean Hannity, the idea that this is a populist network or whatever would be very hard to maintain, sitting down with those rich ass elitists or whatever. But anyway, I like to get the sort of behind the curtain view. Sharon, what do you make of it?
I love this story and I love the behind the curtain view of this one. I tend to like that anyway, a peek behind the scenes. But the fact that these people actually do exist, okay? They're kind of filtered or infiltrating this radically, outrageously dishonest institution it's kind of delicious to me. The other delicious part of it is that for anyone who's been indoctrinated by this, it's like this. We should be able to give them this and say, "See, look what's going on the inside," to help, with their deprogramming. I know it's not how it works, and it won't happen because people they want to believe it. But I find this fascinating. Something so simple. We will. What did it say? Something about truth. We'll tell the truth.
Yeah, it would be nice to.
And
Can
they
we do that in the
couldn't even
future?
say, okay.
Yeah.
Nope, they didn't even cross out a word and say, or add a word and say, well, try to tell us. That would have been okay too. I mean, look, it's Fox. So this is fascinating.
And it is really sad to see, like 5 years on, it didn't happen. It didn't happen. And it was a moment where it could have. Remember, Fox, like for a couple of minutes after the election, was somewhat honest about the results of it. And Newsmax wasn't, and OAN wasn't, and right-wingers demand to be told exactly what they want to believe. So they started turning away from Fox. Fox freaked out and were like, "Oh no, we'll tell you the lies again. That we'll get Tucker Carlson will be here. He'll be pretending that he respects Donald Trump. Don't worry, you'll never have to question anything you believe." And there was a moment where they could have actually moved in an ethical direction, and they didn't. And by the way, they knew the stakes. The next tweet involves Lachlan Murdoch, one of the heads of the network, the Murdoch family, obviously, texting on November 6th, so right around the election. Problem is, Trump is going to blame everyone for not winning, especially Fox. So they knew the stakes. That if Trump loses, if they're honest about it, he's just going to point the finger at them. They were worried about it. We know from prior text messages that the hosts were very aware of it, that they're going to be blamed, that they could potentially lose their audience. And so again, there's this important inflection point where they can choose to either hold to some semblance of journalistic ethics or hold on to their base. And unfortunately, they were captured by the base and they chased after them, courting them with lies. Yeah, look, there's more. There's an interesting thing where they were talking about how to talk about George Soros. Apparently, employees had been saying like, "Hey, when they bring up George Soros, they spread a lot of anti-Semitic tropes, and we don't like that." So the advice was to avoid bringing up George Soros when not necessary, and obviously that didn't stick either. But anyway, again, I don't know, maybe all these people have been fired or moved on since then, but it is nice to know that there were at least some people at Fox that wanted them to be a responsible news network, even if unfortunately they evidently have no control over the outcome. Okay, we have one more story we're gonna get to. First though, Carrie McCaskill, thank you for being a member, being a member for 1 month over on YouTube. I do appreciate that. Jeffrey Casista says in a super chat, Pam Bondi says, "You took money from a friend of Jeffrey Epstein." Their response should be, "You took a job from his best friend." And that is a great point. I like that. I forget, actually, Jeffrey, why don't you send in an email to rewards@2itnetwork.com. We'll get you hooked up with a Blue Ribbon gift card, because I do appreciate that comment. Yeah, Dick Durbin did fine, but like I can't help but think that, I don't know, like if it had been a Jasmine Crockett, if it had been an AOC, they would have brought up those topics, but also been more prepared and I don't just produce better moments out of it. Unfortunately, he just couldn't quite do that. But anyway, with that said, let's jump into our final topic of the show, starting with this.
Canadians are refusing to go to the US. The numbers are down like 23% in the first 7 months of the year. What do you say to Canadians that don't want to go to the US now because of your 51st state talk, because of the trade war, the tariffs?
Yeah. Well, I understand it. Look, I understand that, and Americans don't want to buy cars that are made in Canada. You know, I mean, we have the same conflict, so there isn't. It's something that will get worked out. There's still great love between the two countries, but you know, American people want product here. They want to make it here. The people of Canada, they will love us again. Most of them still do. If you say only 25%, I assume a lot of them. I think they love us.
Yeah, don't use us, because I don't think they have a problem with like me. I don't think they have a problem with like the concept of America. I think they have a problem with you, buddy. When you're unpopular, don't lump me in with you, okay? I've got enough problems of my own. And I love his little evasion there, where they're like, Canadian tourism is way down. And he's like, well, and we don't want to buy cars from them. We have the same problem. But is that the same problem? Because they're willingly saying, we don't want to come to your country. And meanwhile, you're saying, because you put tariffs on the cars, they're more expensive, so there'll be less of them sold. That's not a choice thing. That's an economic necessity caused by your boneheaded policy maneuvers. So anyway, look, to me, it cannot be clearer that the problem we're facing in terms of getting not only Canadians to come to America, but people from all over the world is a Trump problem. And it's a very like predictable problem. In fact, specifically for Canadians, if you bring up this chart, it's gonna show the views that Americans have of the US president to do the right thing. So basically, do you like the US president? Do you think they're responsible? And you can see it always goes down under Republican presidents, shoots up under Democratic presidents. You could see Bush, it's going down, then up to Obama, huge levels. Now it does moderate a little bit under Obama, but then nosedives under Trump, shoots up under Biden, then notably goes down. I'm gonna say probably because of Gaza. That's my belief. And then immediately when Trump gets elected, goes down again. This is not a cultural issue. This is a Trump issue and a Republican issue. It seems clear to me, Sharon, but what do you think?
Yeah, I used to spend a lot of time in Toronto. I mean, like I'd go every month when I was living in Cleveland, and I loved it. The shopping was good. Everything was great. I had a fantastic hairdresser there. And then things changed. I can tell you, even a long time ago, they hated this guy, Trump. And this is not a scientific poll. I'm just telling you, everyone I talked to in Canada hated him. They still, my friends in Canada still reach out to me. Social media, they'll send me an email like, why can't you guys get rid of this guy? His denial here is like, I'm gonna help the women whether they like it or not. It's not reality. They're not too keen on coming here, and it's because of you, okay? It's not you, John, it's not me. It's because of him. They'd be fine if he would just go about his business.
Yeah, and if it is me, but let me know. I want to know so I can change things. But if we could just really fast, let's go to graphic 2. Canadian views in the US. They're at basically the least favorable they've ever been in 20 years. Now, it's at 34 right now. That's very low. It had been at 35 once before. Fun little poll question. Who do you think was president when we reached 35 before? Yeah, so we have a good relationship in theory. It's just that they do what most people do, which is to associate a country with its leader. And we saw a similar sort of problem, back, I know for a lot of you, this is ancient history or whatever. But when George W. Bush was president and we invaded Iraq and Afghanistan and we were causing, running amok around the world, a lot of people had a problem with America. But their problem wasn't with America. It was with the leadership of America. And unfortunately, sometimes we do this when we shouldn't. Sometimes an evaluation of a president or a world leader, I think, should be tied very closely to a country. Like, for instance, I'm not gonna judge the Russian people or whatever, but Putin's kind of seems like the Russian government, so I feel like I probably should associate those things. When your country is perpetuating, not just like blundering economic moves like with the tariffs, but for instance, they probably look at the support that we're providing to the ongoing genocide in Gaza. Should they not be mad at us for that? Like, I know that you want them to shut up about it or whatever if you're a right winger, but they're being true to their values. There was a big shift when Biden goes away and Donald Trump takes over. Now, the optimistic thing, I think that the good news coming out of this is we've already seen multiple times that those opinions can improve massively. It's not going to improve because suddenly Donald Trump comes up with, some sort of resolution to the trade war with Canada where the tariff goes down by 2% or whatever. They're still going to hate his guts. The tariff is still going to be higher than it was otherwise. But if we boot him out, I think that Canadians' views of America can quickly recover. And I think that tourism from Canada can probably recover pretty fast too. Sharon, final thought goes to you.
Yeah, that's what it's meant to do. These kinds of pressure points, blaming the greater society for their leader. If you don't like it, get him out of there. Boot him out of there. Okay, that's what tariffs on Russia are designed to do. Make it really hard. The people will stand up and say, you know what? I understand he's a murderous dictator, but we got to do whatever we can to get rid of him because we're being punished too much. So yeah, he leaves, we get rid of him, and everything's fine. Okay, we can go back to visiting them. You bump into somebody on the street there and they tell you they're sorry. That's how relatively decent it is when you go someplace else, okay? They can come here, it's gonna be great. But we have to do some heavy lifting first.
Yeah, and my final point, this is a question, I'm just gonna leave, I'm not gonna answer, I'm just gonna ask MAGA. Like, you guys seem to like the idea of people around the world liking America. Like when Trump says, we're a laughing stock, they're laughing at us. But like when I show you the polls, and we can do this for Canada, we can do this for Europe, we can do this for all these different places. They like us better when you guys aren't in charge. Why do you think that is? Like, again, regular Canadian people, we're not talking about Trudeau or whatever. Regular Canadian people are like, yes, America, sometimes. And sometimes they don't like America. And there is a pattern there. Why do you refuse to see it? Anyway, just some homework for you. Think about it. That is unfortunately all the time we have for the show today. Sharon, as always, it is a pleasure to have you here. Thank you, and good luck with the online shopping. I hope that you catch some good deals.
Yeah, I'm gonna get back to it. I mean, this is phenomenal stuff. I think there's a box you could check too, that it doesn't come in so many boxes destroying the environment. So I'll try to figure that out. But this is, I'm telling you, you gotta check it out. You have to.
It's nice to have something positive going on with all the darkness.
Right.
But anyway, thank you everybody out there. Tomorrow, I am almost certain this week is a John Solo show. So please don't let it be solo. Join me tomorrow on the Damage Report, and I'll appreciate you being there. For now, stay safe out there, stay sane out there, and we'll see you soon.